Good morning, broadcasting live from the ZTN studios in Harare, Zimbabwe. Welcome to Drug Haven, this week's edition, of course. Every week we talk about drug and substance abuse, the interventions, the causes, and try and understand what we can do to create a drug-free society in Zimbabwe. My name is Candice Mwakaleli, and if you are watching, please do make sure you are part of the discussion. You can drop your comments in the comment section. That's on the Zim Papers TV Network Facebook page, or on at ZTN News if you want to follow the discussion on Twitter. Now, today we are talking drug and substance abuse, women at the Warfront. And joining me, I have a very bubbly person who I'm going to have a good time talking to. I am joined by, she is the director of Lily Blossom Academy and a mental health first aider. Her name is Faith Mvududu. Faith, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Candice.
I'm very curious, what is a mental health first aider? That's the first time I've come across it.
That is true. A mental health first aider, it is the equivalent of, the physical first aider, someone who mitigates emergency situations concerning suicide cases, especially suicide cases, before we can actually refer them to professionals like the counselors, the therapists, and the psychologists.
Okay, and how long have you been doing this?
I think for a year. I actually trained last year in December. That's when I got certified by the National Behavioral Council of the United States of America. So during the lockdown, something good came out of it.
Absolutely, I agree. Now, is this a common thing in Zimbabwe, and how did you find yourself wanting to do this?
Wow. In Zimbabwe, actually, I've been searching for the other women that may want to train as mental health first aiders, but it is not common at all. What happened for me to actually do this, it was in December of last year. I remember, okay, I'm a strong, should I say, I have a strong relationship with God. So the Holy Spirit, somehow he led me to just type in on Facebook, because, it was during the pandemic, and when people were following gossip and toxic maybe fights and so forth, but somehow my attention went towards the mental health because of the experience I also have. I'm also a survivor of 5 attempted suicides back when I was 15 years old. So I discovered that sometimes for you to talk about mental health more in depth, you need to have the qualification. So as the Holy Spirit led me to type on Facebook, I just typed mental health courses, training courses, Zoom, and guess what?
That's what came up.
It came up, and by the grace of God, it was actually fully funded for, because this course normally costs £300, but I did it for free.
Wow.
Yeah. And the people that trained me, they're actually based in America, and they were like, how did you find us? I was like, it's by the grace of God, they're like, amen. So I was actually the only African there. And I trained, I got my certification. I think actually there was a bit of a struggle because, sometimes when a good thing wants to come up, there's some kind of resistance that may want to
derail it.
Exactly. So the first one, they got the name was misspelled wrong, so they had to take it back to the center. Then they corrected it, and then they sent it, and they were just so amazing, And that's when my extensive journey in talking about my experience with suicide started manifesting forth, and that's also when Lily Blossom was born, officially.
Okay, all right. Just also for context, because you have brought up now, we are going to talk it a little bit later on, but just also tell us what Lily Blossom Academy is, just briefly.
Okay, thank you so much. Lily Blossom Academy, she is what do you call this? She's an incubator of women who feel unworthy, women who are broken, women who have for so long deemed themselves or have been for so long being suppressed by society. Thus, they have seen themselves as women who do not have value. So Lily Blossom brings out the queen in them. We are there to raise up queens because we believe that every woman has got a kingdom that she reigns, even if it's that small space. But as long as you are ruling and reigning in that kingdom to bring about effective change, not fights, not gossip. Sometimes it's just best to ignore something than to actually get involved in the physical fight and so forth. So this is what Lily Blossom seeks to accomplish. I love that you personify it. She is, not it is. I think that is it's very welcoming, very warm, very very safe to approach. I love that you do that. But so I've just asked you for this background just so that we kind of understand who you are right now. But this is not who you've always been. No. You have a bit of a history there. You've already mentioned the suicide as part of, your story. But tell us a bit about your history with drug and substance abuse. Oh, Candice, this is actually, I may get emotional. I might, because this is something that to officially, really, tell it to the world in that depth, especially the alcohol part. But I remember the very first time I became an alcoholic. I was I 19, just after college. Right. Yeah, just after my upper six. I was in a relationship at that time. We were always together. But unfortunately, sometimes when you get into a relationship, you're actually hoping for the best, and however, events turn around and they change the trajectory of things. So this relationship ended up, it ended up being toxic. I should also say that to him and to me as well, because I cannot totally blame him, because a relationship is two people. So from my perspective, how I ended up, because I had made him my everything. Exactly. And also, it's human nature, I suppose. I would not want to blame him, right? But it is human nature to, when you're in love or when you're in or when you're in, I don't know what it is, in infatuation, I suppose, you tend to lower down your guard to the level that whatever that person says goes. And you begin to lose your voice. How I began to lose my voice, Candice, I've always been a chubby baby, okay? I've always been a chubby lady. And I remember this other time we're actually in a restaurant and I wanted to order food. And was it chips and something? It was something, yes. So as I wanted to order, then he said, no, don't give her that. She's on a diet. What? Yeah, he said that. Candice, I think from that moment, that's when I started to see myself as someone, like I'm not good enough. Because the more you hear these are subtle statements, but they actually they're very damaging. Exactly. They make an imprint in you such that it affects even how you begin to see yourself. And also having traumatic experiences growing up, it did not help either. So I began to lose my voice more and more, and I just lost myself, and I was now just him. Right. Whatever he was doing, it was me just following through. I was no longer Faith, but I was now, maybe I could have... An extension of him and his thoughts of you. Exactly. So that's how it became toxic. And now, because of also the tantrums now, because at that time as well, I remember a time where we actually had an argument and I actually dropped. I dropped in town by, what's this place? Zimex Mall. At that time it was called Zimex Mall. I dropped flat. And that's, I think that's the first time he had no choice but to take me home to my parents in that state. It was crazy. Then I realized, a few months later, I realized if I continue at my age, I'm only 19, 20, and I'm having these situations, it can only get worse, I suppose, because I was, honestly, Candice, I had lost myself, and I had to make a really, really hard decision. It was not easy, because I at that time, I loved him.
Right.
Yeah. I deeply cared for him, and there are a lot of sacrifices that happened in that relationship from his side and from my side, such that letting go of that relationship meant I was letting go a part of me that I was not ready to lose. But it had to be done, because for the sake of my mental state and for the sake of destiny, sometimes the cost of destiny can be quite hard and tough.
Right.
So I could not handle the pain. And I remember I was actually at home and I said, oh my goodness, this is painful. And I remember I said, I need to have another, an alter ego. And I created an alter ego. Yeah, you know, in spiritual terms now you'd call that was like maybe conjuring something. I don't know what it was. But definitely it made me a tough woman. Not tough in terms of, you know, physically, but tough in terms of I just didn't care anymore.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I became so rebellious. I was always a good child at home, but I became so rebellious. Candice, I would come home at 5 a.m.
Wow.
and no one would ask me anything, because I don't know what had come over me. It was that hard. And for me to talk about this, like,
this is what I'm going through.
Exactly.
This is how I feel.
You know, it was something. And right now I'm really being vulnerable, because there are people though that know me from the past, that know the lifestyle I lived at that time. And now I'm being vulnerable. Why? Because I want other women to know that it's life. You know, yeah, so.
Okay, Faith, this is a journey, and we are taking it step by step, and we've started off with the beginning, where this all started, and Faith is sharing her story today, because we do ultimately hope that we can help somebody out there. We are taking a short break. Do stay tuned. We will continue with the story. Welcome back. You are watching Drug Haven, and today we are talking, of course, drug and substance abuse women at the Warfront. Now, we often don't understand or realize that the circumstances we are in, the people we are surrounding ourselves with, or the things that come to us in life influence a lot of the decisions that we make. Today, Faith is sharing with us her story of how she ended up, you know, an alcoholic, she has already said, and where it started, where it went, up until she got to the point where she realized no more, enough is enough. And if you can relate to the story, please make sure you are taking part, and you are in the comment section. That's the Zim Papers TV Network Facebook page, or at ZTN News on Twitter. We also want to hear your experiences, and if there's any way that we can help you, please also do let us know. Now, Faith, okay, so you've had to pull yourself out of this relationship. Emotionally, mentally, you're not ready, but you realize that this is what is good for me. Talk to us about that first drink.
Wow. Candice, my very first drink, it was actually a friend, in brackets. It was a male friend. He said they are going for a braai, and I was like, oh, I want to come as well. This was actually towards Christmas. Yeah, the holiday of Christmas in 2010. 2010, yes. So this is when, you know, the hype of, there's this cider called Storm.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't know at that time how that it was actually had a high content of alcohol. But I don't know what happened, because he bought me those things, but I drank 2 packs and I did not even fall down. And he was like, are you sure?
And this is your first drink?
It was.
Wow.
That's the crazy part.
Wow.
That's the crazy part. And even to this date, I'm sure he still does not believe that it was my first time to actually drink alcohol. And that began the journey of a wild lifestyle, number one. And Candice, it got to a stage where I would drink every single day. Every single day.
And how did you feel when you were drinking? First, how did you feel after your 2 packs and no... Right, your tolerance levels are amazing. But after your 2 6-packs and you're still standing, but how did it make you feel inside? How did you feel emotionally, mentally? What was going through your mind? And then as you get to drinking every day, how did the alcohol make you feel?
Now, it starts as, you know, you're feeling joyful, you're feeling merry. But then when it really sinks in, I start to cry. You know, I would cry. I would actually go to the bathroom and cry my eyes out, thinking, "Oh my goodness, how could he do this to me?" You know,
you were that girl in the bathroom.
Exactly.
I'm that eyes out, and nobody understands what's going on.
I was that girl in the bathroom, and it was so funny. So the first hour or 2 hours, oh, I'm fine. And when there's music, woo, I'm the one on the dance floor.
Right.
Yeah. But then after now, when everyone is going home, I'm actually going back to reality. And it starts again. The cycle goes again. I go home, I eat, I sleep. I wake up, I drink again, you know. And I would even take whiskey on the rocks. I would take tequila. I remember at this time, I would take 10 shots of tequila, one go, and I wouldn't even feel anything.
What?
Yeah, it was that bad.
Yeah.
But this continued for like about 3 years. Then I realized that my spiritual life had just turned chaotic. And I guess this is where, you know, God was just pulling me, saying, you know, and I remember my mom used to cry, what's going on to my daughter? Because, you know, yeah.
She doesn't understand.
Exactly.
But, you know, before you actually move on to that moment of realization, how, you know, so you said mom was crying and she couldn't understand.
Yeah.
How was it affecting you and the relationship between you and your family? I mean, growing up, you were a good girl, like you said. You were the child they knew. This one is obedient and she's helpful and she's doing, she's bubbly and everything. And suddenly you are rebellious, you're drinking all the time. And how did that change your relationship?
Oh, wow. I think being a last born as well, maybe in not knowing how to deal with the situation, I cannot really say there was, they confronted me about it. No, they did not directly confront me. I suppose, you know, being a last born, Candice, you'll be treated like, you know, this egg, and but sometimes being treated like an egg is actually detrimental, because you still need someone who can say, Faith, what you're doing is wrong. And I remember this other time, my brother, my other brother, he says to me, Faith, you need to slow down, you know. And I was like, you're telling me to slow down, but you're also drinking, so
wow.
you know. But yeah, it was of course, they were really affected, because I wasn't even doing anything at home anymore. I was now just, you know, this.
You woke up to drink.
Yeah, I woke up to eat, drink, and just sleep. And it was crazy, Candice. And I remember Okay, I think I will share that part after that phase, because there's another phase as well that happened recently.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah.
Okay, so let's take
A
it stage
relapse.
by stage. So, your family life has become affected. Socially, what was going on?
Socially, I think socially it was more because at that time there was no internet, was not really much of a, you know. Yeah. So socially, yes, I would have a group of friends or colleagues that, you know, would meet and drink. And that was really
that was your bonding.
Exactly, that was our bonding. You know, if you're going to exactly, you know, Asaka, you know, Tahiti, if we are going Kuprai, you know, that's it, and back and forth. Just that was it. Nothing really to build. Yeah, it was a crazy lifestyle, and I will not even talk about relationships because that was crazy too, really crazy.
Now you've mentioned moments of, you know, so you're bubbly and you're the life of the party when the music is up, and then you start to fall back into that reality and you cry. This went on for all these 3 years.
Yes.
And as you're crying, who are you with? Who's taking care of you, even though you can't explain what it is you're going through?
I had this friend of mine, Tendi. I call her Tendi. Yeah, she. It's only that because, you know, she'll still be in the club, you know, dancing, and I'll be in the bathroom, and then maybe she'll come after like an hour. Where is Faith? And there I'm in the bathroom, you know, crying, but she wouldn't see my tears. But of course, she'd think maybe something is happening. She never really used to ask me directly, and also because there are certain things I never used to open about. Our relationship, our friendship was just purely drinking buddies, and even the other people, it was drinking buddies, not really much about what really made me start. And yeah.
Okay, so you've gone through this and you've said 3 years. 3 years is a long time.
It is.
3 years.
It is.
But you had that moment that said, no, listen, something's not right. What was that moment? What happened that led you to this aha moment?
Candice, I remember it was, December, I think it was during my birthday in 2013. I started feeling so heavy that, you know what, I don't like this lifestyle. But I'm failing to, because I'll tell myself this is the last time. But again, the next day when I wake up, I'm going back again.
I'm looking for my bottle.
Exactly. That was the hardest moment in my life, Candice. I do not want to lie. The struggle was real. I wanted to let go, but I kept on going back. And to be honest with you, I remember crying and begging God, God, you have to make a way for me to leave maybe this city for a while, because I need to let go of this lifestyle. And after about 3 months later, that's when my brother was transferred to work in another city, and he says, can you come and stay with my wife for a few months? I was like, oh my goodness, this is the open door. You know, Candice, to be honest with you, my life, it's all God. Because in all the phases I went through, he's the one who always said, Faith, you are stubborn, I'm pulling you back up.
Right.
But I had to be willing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. We take another short break. Faith is telling us her story of alcohol abuse, and how she found herself in that situation and how she eventually managed to get out. When we come back, we continue with her story. Do stay tuned. Thank you for watching Drug Haven, and today we are talking to Faith Mvududu, who is the director of Lily Blossom Academy, as well as a mental health first aider. And we've been sharing her journey with her, just walking through it. So at this point, all right, you've been removed from the situation as you've requested God to do. What happened next?
Wow. What happened next? I became a radical in the religious side. I became this prayer warrior. It was just crazy. And to the extent that at some point I got married, but then also got divorced. And then started a ministry for women that prayed for the nation of Zimbabwe. I remember it was around 450 of us. It was actually the first ministry at that time online, and people used to ask me, how can you have a ministry online? But not knowing that I was actually traveling ahead of time.
Right.
You know. But then it was in that, when I had that ministry, I had a relapse, Candice. I was a minister leading women in prayer, and I got involved in a relationship again. Oh,
That's okay. You can take a moment. Take a moment.
now this one is a bit emotional because it's emotional because I was leading, you know, and living a lifestyle where you're back into drinking, and not only drinking, but you're also cohabiting with someone, fornicating, actually, let's call that fornication. And not only that, but I'm also smoking.
You now were smoking.
Now I was smoking. A habit that started whilst, you know, I was staying with this in this relationship.
Right.
So I let down those women, and I remember crying to God. I said, God, I don't know what's happening to me, but I just pray that you lift off this burden off me, because I am leading your people astray. And I think after about maybe a few months, I said, you know what, I have to step down. And I actually just left the forums. Some of them, I didn't really tell them, but I told them that I'm going through a lot. And because there were so many of them, when I managed to, you know, to recover from that relationship, I apologized to some. But for those that I was not able to reach, may you please allow me this time to just apologize.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh my God. This is, it's not easy being a leader and also admitting to your mistakes. It is not easy. Being a leader and you leave them halfway. I did that. And to everyone who was in Women of Prayer between the years 2015 and 2017, I am sorry for letting you down. Sorry.
It's okay, Faith. You don't need to apologize.
I am sorry for not leading you in the rightful path. I know after I left, some of you ended up being back in the world. Oh, Lord.
Just breathe. Just breathe. It's okay.
I'm sorry for being irresponsible and not for owning up at that time. I am sorry for disappointing you. And even to my parents, I will still apologize. Even to everyone that I came across along the journey, I am sorry if I ever hurt you, knowingly and unknowingly. I may not be in contact with you, but you may come across this video, you may come across this, this show. From the deepest of my heart, I am sorry. And by God's grace, for those that have been praying for God to bring me up again, I restarted again, Candice. I restarted again.
And that is the best part to hear. That even though it was difficult, you did keep going.
Yeah.
Now, let me take you out of this space and just ask you to just give us a little bit more information about Lily Blossom and how people can get in touch with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, Lily Blossom Academy, it is a virtual global institution. Currently, we have members from different nations, 15 nations and 11 nationalities, and 17 organizations that are in collaboration with Lily Blossom. Why are we virtual? Because we do what we can with what we have.
Right.
Resources are not an excuse, Candice. What we had was phone and data, and we thought, okay, let's do this, you know, and help other women find and discover that they're actually wearing their crowns, such that when a king comes, or even if he doesn't come, they are still queens in their own spaces.
Right.
So Lily Blossom, we're on Facebook, Lily Blossom Academy page, and also Lily Blossom Academy @gmail.com. And also the number 0778 254 and 855.
Okay, just say it one more time.
0778 254 855. Currently, we are actually on a journey. We are on a 40-day journey with the women. We started on the 1st of November up until the 10th of December against gender-based violence. And then the men as well joined today, actually. They started the journey today. 30-day journey fighting against gender-based violence under the movement Shield Her, because we are saying a real king shields queens.
All right. Thank you so much, Faith, for joining us today. Now, you know, someone at this point has realized that, look, it's not an easy journey.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of ups and downs. Just as we conclude, because unfortunately we are out of time, how would you, what advice would you give to anybody who's currently struggling and thinks that they have entirely failed?
Wow. Thank you, Candice. To anyone who's struggling out there, you know, if after having a wild lifestyle like mine, and I was able to be brought back up by God, and whatever entity you believe in, at the end of the day, it is your consciousness and your deliberate decisions to make. And you have to realize that no matter how many times you fall, a righteous man falls 7 times, but he always gets back up. Candice, it's always about getting back up. You need to rise up and pick up your mantle and walk the race. You need to rise up and pick up the mantle and run your vision, because at the end of the day, your destiny is tailor-made for you. No one else can do what you can do. You're not a copycat, but you are an original. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And this is the first time you've shared your story publicly. Thank you so much for choosing this platform to be that voice for you. We appreciate you and we are proud of the steps that you've made.
Thank you.
If you have been watching and you are struggling, you will understand that part of the struggle, of course, or part of the race in life is failing, yes, but never ever staying down, as she said, and also admitting that, look, I have a problem, and where do I start to fix it? It's not an overnight fix. You're not going to get it done today. You may get it done in a couple of months, couple of years, couple of days. Timelines will differ, but you never stop trying. My name is Candice Mwakalele. From myself and the crew behind the scenes at ZTN. Be kind to each other, but be kinder still to yourselves. We'll see you next time.